Your parents will use the Bible to guilt you and manipulate you into tolerating their abuse. Don't do it. Yes, the Bible might say honor thy mother and honor thy father. However, that does not translate to enabling your mother and father to get away with abusing you. You do know that by setting a boundary, distancing yourself, and not tolerating the abuse at the hands of your parents means that you're actually honoring them. You're respecting yourself. You're protecting your mental health and your spirituality from demonic attacks. Stop using the Bible scripture, honor thy mother and thy father, to excuse their abusive, disgusting, deplorable behavior. Honor them from a distance. Stay away from the abuse. Protect your mental health. God will not punish you for cutting them off. They're the ones in the wrong. You can forgive them and move on with your life and live guilt-free.
Here's 3 lies that religious, emotionally immature parents tell you to try to control you. Number 1 is, you have to obey us. And they'll use Bible verses like, obey your parents and honor your parents, to guilt trip and shame you into compliance. But if you read that whole verse, it says, children obey your parents. You're an adult, not a child. And honoring your parents doesn't mean you obey them. It means you treat them with value. I value my kids. I honor my kids, but I don't give them everything they want. I do what I believe is best for them, even if that means they get upset. And in that way, I honor them. Number 2, they might say that setting boundaries is dishonoring. Again, honoring doesn't mean you do whatever your parents want. It means valuing them, treating them with value. You can value someone, honor someone, and have healthy limits and have boundaries with them and say no to them. Giving your parents and whatever they want and doing whatever they want, that isn't honor. It's control, it's dysfunction, it's people pleasing. Number 3, they might say that limiting contact is unforgiveness. Well, forgiveness is something that you do in your heart and in your mind. You let go of anger and you stop mentally rehearsing negative things that they did to you. You let it go. But it doesn't mean that you reconcile with the person or allow them to have the same access to your life. And you shouldn't do this if that person refuses to change their abusive behavior. If you'd like to learn to have healthy boundaries with your parents without feeling guilty about it, check out that Boundaries with Parents and In-Laws course in the link in my bio.
If your narcissistic parent has put you on the guilt trip of all the sacrifices that they've made in order to keep you alive, which was kind of their legal obligation, which they chose to do, you had no say in any of this. This is your reminder that that is just a guilt trip. I also want to remind you that you've made a lot of sacrifices too. You have had to sacrifice your childhood, your mental health, your emotional health, your ability to feel safe on this planet. And that was more than enough that you have done for your narcissistic parent. And the reality is, you literally don't owe your parents anything for bringing you onto this planet. You had no choice. You were just brought into this circus that they imposed onto you. And normal, healthy parents don't actually impose this sort of sense of responsibility onto their kids. They want their kids to grow up to be healthy, functional adults. But for narcissistic parents, that's not their goal. They want an extension of themselves that they can control for the rest of their lives. Your boundaries, whether it's low contact or no contact, are completely valid. And their argument that they made sacrifices for you was a choice disguised as a guilt trip, because people who feel guilty are easier to control. You were brought into this circus by no choice of your own. And now that you're an adult, you're making the empowered choice to live life on your own terms. And that's amazing.
I want to talk about is spiritual superiority, which it makes sense, right? So we have somebody who does not feel good about themselves, is insecure, is running away from their shame, is deeply insecure and projects her insecurities onto her daughter. They will use religion to feel superior, to feel good about themselves, to really dig deep into it. But not only that, is when you use religion to feel superior to others, that means that they see others inferior that do not abide by her religion or usually follow hierarchical rules when it comes to religion and their daughters. They may feel morally superior to their daughters, to others, because of their religious beliefs. And they may constantly remind their daughters of, like, this is our religion, this is what it looks like, this is what you should be doing. And if you're not following these rules, these behaviors, then you are a skank. You are bringing shame to the family. So not only is there the shame of having a narcissistic mother, but there's also the shame that's added on top because of the religion. Like, for example, the mother may say, like, you're not living to our religious standard and you're disappointing God because of your action. And this
Be real with me. Are you a grown-ass adult that still feels ruled by guilt from your parents? Have you heard something along the lines of, how dare you live your own life your own way? Do you know how much I've sacrificed for you? So many of my clients deal with this. It's commonly referred to as guilt tripping, but I like to call it guilt trapping because it's a way of shaming or blaming a child and trapping them into meeting your expectations of them. Like for how long and how often and where and when they're supposed to spend time with you, and how they're supposed to use their money and their education, and generally how they're supposed to live their own life. Here is what you need to know. This does not actually have to do with you and your actions. This has to do with your parent not knowing how to share their feelings and expectations openly and take responsibility for them. So rather than making clear agreements with you, like if I lend you this money, I expect you to call me once a week, instead they lend you the money pretending like there are no strings attached and then try to use guilt to get you to call them more frequently. It's like there's this invisible contract that they think we agreed to by virtue of being born and having needs and accepting the help that parents are supposed to give, but we never actually did agree to it. And while their guilting may work in the short term because we want to get rid of these icky feelings so we do what they want, it ends up eroding the relationship in the long term, and then they feel even less close to us, so they try to use even more guilt to bring us closer, which actually just pushes us even further away. It's a vicious cycle. So here is what I encourage you to do. First of all, recognize that you, being of a younger generation, were probably socialized to have better communication skills and to feel more comfortable being upfront about your emotions. So take charge and have a conversation with them where you lovingly encourage them to make their expectations that had been implicit explicit. Let them know that clarity is kind. Clarity will help you have a better relationship with them. See if you can create new agreements and compromise in a way that works for both of you. Especially do this before accepting additional assistance from them whenever possible. And secondly, don't take on what isn't yours. That guilt is theirs, not yours. When you start feeling guilty, literally stop and say to yourself, that guilt is not mine to take on. Remember that anything that they have done for you was a choice that they freely made out of love for you. They don't get to hold it over your head. Allow them to own their own choices. Don't let their choices own you.
Mostly immature parent treats their child like an adult. They give their child adult responsibilities. They speak to their child about very adult problems. And this is really unfair for the child. It skews the dynamic of parent and child, and it makes the child have to be like the parent, and it puts the parent in the child position. But another thing I've noticed with the mostly immature parents is they will often bring up the sacrifices they have made for their child in order to alter or change their child's behavior. So they might bring up things like how much money they have sacrificed for you to be in that extracurricular hobby that you're only in because your parent wants you to be in it so they can boast to their friends about it. It's more about their own ego, you even doing that hobby, not because of your betterment, but because they can go and tell everyone, my child's the ballerina, my child plays the piano, my child's very good at this, that, and the other. They are trying to live their dream through you, and they will constantly bring up the financial sacrifice they have made in order to keep you in that. It's almost a form of manipulation or coercion. Another thing might be, we moved to this country because of you, so you have to pursue this career because we moved here because of you. And though I understand that the sacrifice that they made is great, it is massive, and of course that would have taken a lot for them to make that move for their children and for the future of their children. Them using that sacrifice to coerce and change your behavior, again, it is manipulative. Emotionally mature parents do not use the sacrifices they have made against their children. They do not use them to get the actions out of their children that they would desire. Emotionally mature parents understand that as a parent, you signed up for the role. The child did not sign up to be here. And so the sacrifice you've made for the child were often necessary for the well-being of the child. And it is your responsibility to make sure that the child is taken care of and the child is doing well. And so the sacrifices aren't something that you're trying to utilize later in order to get your own way. You're doing so out of love and out of obligation and duty because it is your job to do so. And so the emotionally immature parent will always be bringing up all the things they've done for you. We spent so much, we sacrificed so much time, and so you will have to do what we said. It always begins with them talking about the ways in which they've sacrificed, but it ends with them wanting your behavior to change or wanting you to do something that only pleases them. And at times this isn't actually for the betterment of you. It's because of their own ego. It's because there is an enmeshment they've created with you, and they are probably trying to live out what they didn't have through you. And they're trying to live out their own goals and feed their own ego through you.
Religious narcissists are grandiose. They use the Bible to shame and belittle you. They operate from an elitist mindset, thinking that they're above all and better than everyone around them. Religious narcissists abuse you and then use the Bible to say you must forgive and forget. Religious narcissists expect you to conform to all of their viewpoints. Everything they say and do is the right way, and they do not respect your autonomy. Religious narcissists cause a lot of chaos and damage in the lives of the people around them. They name call, chastise, ridicule, and devalue you. Anything you say or do will be used against you. You're not allowed to speak up for yourself. You're not allowed to stand up for yourself. And oftentimes you will find yourself losing your own faith, questioning what is real or not when it comes to religion itself.
Jesus says to blank your mother and father. Religious parents, especially emotionally controlling religious mothers who over-mother, and as a result, the children are under-fathered, they always just quote the obey your mother verse. And if you're in your 20s, 30s, if you're married and your mom or your dad are still quoting the obey me verse, it no longer applies. If you want to give them a verse, here's the verse to give them. Are you ready? Jesus says to hate. That word hate is strong. You're like, the Bible says to obey your mother. Jesus said to hate you. Now, what does that word mean? It means to prioritize. In another one of the Gospels, Jesus says, if you don't make your relationship with God more important than your mother and father, then you're acting like you hate God. And if a family forces you to choose between God and them, and you choose God, they're going to feel like what? You hate them.